What's up, y'all? I hope y'all having a blessed day today. When I was playing basketball, this verse really just reminded me while playing it. And I'm not going to lie, usually I'd make this a reflecting series, but I really just want to make this a fellowship video. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, it states that my grace is sufficient for you, for in your weakness my strength is made perfectly. There's so many times where we have a goal, and whenever we take the chance of that goal, there's always something either hindering us from within or an external force. But in these times when we go through storms, in these times when we face multiple different situations in life, we tend to fall back. We tend to get inside of our comfort zone, to not feel comfortable being ourselves, not being comfortable of, living out our dream because we're afraid that we might not meet those people's expectations, or we're afraid that we might not be able to achieve what we originally thought because of the storm that's in our way, the challenge that is presenting ourselves that we didn't prepare for, or that we didn't structure ourselves to that sort of reality, realizing on how difficult it is. But Jesus understood that we would be facing a lot of these times. A great example is when Jesus had called Peter to walk on water. There was a big storm, a big ocean that he had seen that was so high. And he had thought that wave was going to crash onto him. That he had doubt within himself that he would be able to make it to Jesus. And so when he doubted in himself, everything collapsed on him and he started to sink. We can relate to that moment within our own situations when we're faced through those hardships, or if we're in a rock and a hard place, meaning you're in a place where you have no choice, or someone has obligated you to feel those type of way about the risk and the goals that you want to go towards. Jesus understood that those challenges were going to be in front of us. And that is why when he told Peter, "Why did you doubt?" Because in that moment, he reached his hand and he grabbed Peter and pulled him up so he could stand on that water. Peter then realized that he never should have doubted, because he was going to be fine. That is why God makes this important point, that in our weakness, His grace is sufficient and is made known. It allows to fully bloom within us. The seed that will produce within us, if only we allow God to direct us. In those moments of fear, it's okay to have it, but don't allow it to bring doubt. Because when you are in fear, it can drive you away from the goal God's trying to lead you. It's okay to have those feelings because we're human. We're going to experience hardships in life. But that is why God says, in your weakness, you are made perfect within my strength. Because God calls in Scripture for the brokenhearted, for the burdened, for the weary, from the woe, all the people that are having these experiences in life. Come rest upon my shoulder, for I am easy and my yoke is easy. Meaning, We don't have to be afraid of what's in front of us, because we know if it is God's will, it will succeed. If it is God's plans for us to go out towards that zone, of that danger zone, we will be okay, because God will make our path straight. It's so amazing that we falter so short because of our own selves. We are our worst enemy. We allow people to control us through despair, because us feeling that since we won't reach to their level, we're not going to be good enough. But God calls us to not please man. God calls us to not live for man. Who cares what that boss thinks of you? Who cares if you might lose that job? God has a bigger plan for you than you can even imagine. God has a future that you cannot see, because you are spiritually blinding yourself to that awareness, not allowing God's grace to fall upon you. Because when you allow God's grace to be within you, it gives you the certainty of knowing that you will not fail, because you are in God's righteous right hand. Just like playing basketball, when you go against a team, bunch of tall players, 6'8". One basketball player named Spider Webb, one of the, if not the shortest basketball player, he had won a dunk contest. Not only that, but one of the greatest Hall of Famers to ever play basketball. Why is this story so inspirational? Because he had showcased that you can be different and still succeed against everyone else who expectations are for tall people to only play basketball. No, he completely discarded all those expectations and proved that you don't need to be a talent, or you don't need to be born with all these gifts to prove that you are amazing just the way God created you. And you can even use those gifts in better ways. Corinthians 2, 12:9. In your weakness, my strength is made perfect.